Welcome back to Star or Shovelware, my name's Luke, and today on the channel we're going to be taking a look at Pretty Girl Breakers on the Nintendo Switch, and this one puts a spin on your traditional Breakout game by swapping out the boring old paddle for a miniature anime girl and a lightsaber. But as a fan of Breakout games, should you be dropping the cash on this one? Well, hit that like button, subscribe for more Switch reviews and content, and let's find out. So story-wise with this one then, and it'll probably come as no surprise to you that there isn't one. And while I admit that this is expected with most Breakout games, having a bunch of anime girls in your game offers up the opportunity for at least a little bit of dialogue. There are similar games on the Switch such as Death's Hangover and Strikey Sisters which have managed to implement storylines and which are actually pretty decent, but the girls in this one are simply just for show, an obvious marketing ploy shall we say, though again which has been done better elsewhere. Now, as you might expect, being a Breakout clone, the objective in each of the game's 20 levels is to destroy all of the coloured blocks, and in case you've never played Breakout, this is done by bouncing your ball against them. There are no real secondary objectives in the game aside from perhaps clearing levels as fast as possible with as minimum loss of lives in order to achieve a high score, but beyond this the game sticks to basics. Now, before we go any further and I get into this game's unique mechanics, which may be misconstrued as a positive selling point, I'm going to be totally honest with you. Pretty Girls Breakout is without a doubt the worst Breakout game I've ever played on the Switch, and perhaps it may just be the worst Breakout game I've ever played, period. We'll get onto why I feel this way shortly, but first let me cover off the positives because I do feel that there are at least one or two. Now, instead of using your standard paddle to deflect the ball, in Pretty Girls Breakout, this is replaced by a miniature futuristic robot girl. And while the reason for this is never actually explained, I thought this slight tweak in the mechanics was an interesting one. Deflecting your ball is done by swinging your sword by tapping the A button, and you're also able to build up a combo meter by timing your swings to hit the ball with the tip of your sword. After 5 successful strikes like this, your 6th ball will allow you to penetrate multiple blocks. However, doing so is extremely difficult, and as soon as your ball hits anything but a non-reinforced block, it will lose this bonus, so it does become practically useless in the latter levels. Now, aside from this one unique mechanic, the only other thing that I can praise the game for is its artwork, as all of the anime girls are well drawn, and while you do unlock new costumes for them each time you complete a level, none of them are overly revealing, so the game doesn't feel too sleazy. Now, there are a few more gameplay mechanics that I've yet to mention, but I'll cover off these in this next section where I talk about why the game is so bad. So, to start with, I'm going to cover off the biggest issue with the game, which lies in one of its other unique mechanics, that being the turrets and enemies. Now, while the game starts off reasonably easy, throwing a couple of annoying spinny things your way and eventually a couple of turrets, this quickly progresses into multiple turrets and a barrage of projectiles coming your way. In addition to letting your ball get past you, taking a hit from one of these projectiles will also cost you one of your 5 lives, and while you are able to deflect these projectiles with a swipe of your sword, this becomes near impossible in the latter levels where you also have roaming robots to contend with. Now, I said near impossible because it is in fact possible to deflect most, if not all of the projectiles. The problem is that in order to do this, you have to constantly mash the A button, and I mean constantly, because any break in your mashing is likely to see you take a shot to the face, and beyond possibly the 3rd set of levels, mashing the A button becomes the only way to actually beat a level, and this also renders any element of skill defunct, as it's difficult enough to even keep track of your ball, let alone try to aim it. Now, there are a few different temporary power-ups that you can obtain in levels which appear after breaking blocks, but again these offer very little in the way of aid. The multiple ball power up means you've just got extra balls to try and follow, the barrier which usually stops your balls from getting past you is obliterated in seconds by enemy projectiles, the bomb power is usually insta-launched due to the constant button mashing, and the bullets are simply just shite, and perhaps the only 2 power ups which are of any use whatsoever are the ones which slow your ball down, and another which increases the length of your sword, but both of these last about 10 seconds. Now I actually managed to button mash my way through 90% of the game's levels and ended up giving up a couple of levels from the end, as I just stopped and questioned what the hell I was actually doing this for. My hand was absolutely killing me after tapping the A button non-stop for about an hour straight, and I felt that I'd seen almost everything that the game has to offer. The long and short with this one is that it has a few good ideas which could have worked well, but the execution here was terrible. Now I really have no idea of who playtested the game and give it the green light, considering it's likely to give players a repetitive strain injury, but it's definitely not worth wrecking your hands over to get a high score or unlock a few costumes for some cute anime girls, and it's certainly not worth your money. So visually then, I've already mentioned that I thought the artwork of the anime girls was pretty decent, but beyond this I wouldn't say that there's anything else which really stands out. The coloured blocks in the game all look pretty standard and there's some okay particle effects on the balls, but the sprite work here is pretty simple and nothing to write home about. Audio wise, the sound effects are not bad, but again pretty standard, and I would say that the music is reasonably good. However, this is drowned out by the sound of your sword constantly swinging, so I'd recommend turning off the game's sound effects if you want to listen to it. So on the performance side of things, no real issues to report here, and the game runs perfectly well on the Switch, even with a screen full of projectiles. Issues wise, I've more or less covered off everything wrong with the game, and so to summarise, unless you're working your way towards competing in the Thumb Wars World Championships, then there's really no reason to buy or play this game. There's very little skill involved in actually completing levels, and it's more a case of whether or not you've got the stamina to see them through, and the end reward of dressing up some anime cuties in a few different costumes really isn't worth the time or effort. When it comes to my own personal rating of the game, I'm going to be giving Pretty Girl Breakers 1 out of 5 stars. There are plenty of great Breakout style games on the Switch, 2 of which I've already mentioned. When it comes to this one though, it somehow manages to fail with such a simple gameplay concept, and if you're a fan of the genre like me, I have no doubt that you'll be as disappointed as I was with this one. And so that about does it for this review of Pretty Girl Breakers on the Nintendo Switch. As always, hit that like button if it helped you out, let me know your thoughts and opinions on the game and what your favourite Breakout games are on the Switch, and if you watch my content regularly and are not yet subscribed, then please consider doing so. For now though, I just want to thank you all once again for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves, and game on.